So my wife's laying there on the bathroom floor, right? And the paramedics come in and they kind of like sit her up a little bit. And they're like, okay, we're going to ask you some stupid questions, you know, just to see if you're cognitively there, you know. Oh, and she's like, okay, fine, whatever, go. And they're like, all right, how many quarters are in $1? And she's like, 4. And they're like, what day was it yesterday? And she's like, well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, Sunday now, so yesterday was Saturday. And then they're like, who's the president of the United States? And she's like, I like it when my hat sticks up like this. It makes me feel like a who down in Whoville. All right, so a year ago, when we got the stomach virus, the whole family, right? The last thing that I ate before it hit me was a giant bowl of my mother-in-law's tofu. And I haven't eaten tofu since, for obvious reasons. So my kid has the stomach virus right now. Got the sword hanging over my head. I come in from the gym, actually, where I had just worked out to exhaustion, dehydrated, and I come in, and she's like getting ready to dump the slab of tofu into the pan. I'm just like, no, 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 no. Oh. Smell is just wafting through the house. So I'm down here in the Gribley's Folly Community Garden and Massage Parlor where there is no tofu allowed. I'm smoking Margate. But I can't even pause. I'm smoking Esotericus Margate in my Stanwell Colonial horn shape, and I'm hoping to absorb a lot of this room note in my tactical Shemagh scarf so that I can wear it back upstairs like a gas mask. I just made a video talking about prepper fashion, and I'm going to tease a little bit of content coming up in the Gribley's Folly universe, which is that... Ooh, can I say it yet? Can I say it? I don't know if I can say it. There's something coming up that's going to talk more about this. It's top secret for now. You didn't hear it from me. Forget you were watching this. Brown Sugar Pop-Tarts out. Remember, I was talking about the Shemagh scarves and the 511 belts and the boots and the camo and all that stuff. Talking about preppers, making a little bit of fun of preppers. And I can do that because I am a reformed prepper, right? I had my prepper days back in my youth when I was prepper curious. And, you know, I grew out of it. More specifically, I had a kid. That's kind of really what happened. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about something that happened the other night. I teased this in my Sunday video, and it really illustrates what I think a lot of preppers miss in their prepping preps, in their strategies, in their world view. And that's the whole point of me talking about my New Year's resolutions to lose weight and get in shape and all that stuff, which are, they're only New Year's resolutions because I didn't do them the last like several years in a row. So now they're the new, anyway, you see what I'm saying? I'm fat. But my whole idea around that, hang on, let me relay, is that if you don't have the physical capacity to run 50 yards, then your AR-15 and your 1,000 rounds and your bandolier and all your gear, that's not really going to do you much good. I was raised to be ready for anything, but not in a societal collapse zombies kind of way, more of like an emergency, just emergency readiness kind of way. And since having our son, he's 3 years old now, and I think we've made 4 ER trips since bringing him home from the hospital, which was an ER trip. Well, it wasn't, we didn't really go to the ER because we went straight to an emergency C-section. They don't do C-sections in the ER. But his arrival on the scene was quite an emergency. And it was a long-lasting emergency. It was traumatic. And then since then, we've had a few visits for various reasons. 2 related to him and 2 related to my wife. And I just, every time it happens, it's getting easier and easier. But every time it happens, I feel like I learn things that I want to like write down or share with folks and be like, look, this is so simple. Everybody needs to do this. So here's a story. My wife last week had a very routine procedure at the lady doctor's where they did some lady stuff and they poked around, and it's the kind of thing that you know, they tell you you need to go home and go to bed, but most ladies just go back to work, which she did. And they're like, you know, you're going to be sore, and don't worry about it unless you get a lot of pain, and then maybe there's an infection, then you got to worry about that. But you know, that never happened. Don't worry about that. Well, so 2 o'clock Sunday morning, 0 dark 30. She wakes me up, and she's like, hey, I'm in severe pain, and I'm really, really nauseous, and I think it's time for me to go to the ER. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. Do you think you can drive yourself, or do you need to pack up the kid and we'll all get in the car and I'll drive you? She's like, no, I can drive myself. We're laying in bed. She's like, I can drive myself. I just need to let you know what's going on, you know, and obviously you need to be awake, stay here with kid, and, you know, okay, cool. We're staying calm. We're pretty stoic at this point. We're pretty stoic after what we've been through in our past, in those dark times. Like, okay, well, I will get up. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then you can get up and have the bathroom, get a shower, whatever you need to do. Okay, cool. So she gets out of bed, and she walks around the bed, and she goes into the bathroom, and I'm like sort of like sitting up in bed, and I knew what was going to happen before it does. Thump. There's a thump from the bathroom. So I get up. I'm laughing, but it wasn't funny at the time. I get up, and I go in there, and she is passed out on the bathroom floor, and, you know, eyes open, staring off into space, and she's like the color of, you know, the back of this sandpaper here. It was not a pretty sight. It was very scary, but I was able to bring her around in a couple of seconds. This has happened once before. Apparently, some women become easy fainters after they have a kid or whatever. But, you know, once I got her awake, it was, you know, okay, we can be calm now, but we're going to skip that whole you driving yourself thing. We're calling an ambulance, and they're going to take you to the hospital. That's what happens. You pass out, you go to the hospital in an ambulance. That's the rule. And she was in agreement with that rule, which, while we're on the subject, in contrast, she was in agreement, in contrast to my mom's husband, who last year fell in the shower, broke 4 ribs, and had difficulty breathing for 6 hours before they called EMS. 6 hours, 4 ribs, 6 hours of difficult breathing. No, you can't breathe, you go to the hospital. Protocols exist for a reason. So that's advice number 1. If you pass out or you can't breathe, you go to the damn hospital. What does that smell? Something is burning. I'll be right back. This is why I have to be constantly ready for emergencies, because a piece of plastic fell into the kerosene heater and it burned a little bit, and it, you know, spooked me. It spooked me. I thought there was going to be a situation. I always got my head on a swivel, you know, for situations. I got my scarf just in case. Anyway, so long story short, she's fine. Everything's fine. She went to the ER, and they were like, rather diminishingly, they were like, yeah, you're just having lady problems. And she's like, I've never passed out from lady problems before. And they're like, yeah, it's just lady problems. And she's like, maybe you should, like, I don't know, check something. And they're like, what will we check? And she's like, my uterus? Maybe my brain? I did pass out. So she had to, like, make them give her an ultrasound and a CAT scan to, like, make sure everything was okay. And they gave her a bunch of pain meds and sent her home. And she's fine. She's fine. But, like, we're still both kind of, like, waiting for something to come of it, because she's got a follow. Anyway, she's fine. That's not the story. If my wife were not just fine, I would not be making a funny YouTube video about this situation. So, the paramedics come in, right? And I noticed they were all very large paramedics, very big dudes. And then I noticed that they had a lady paramedic who just came in and kind of sat on a chair and watched. And I'm like, you guys thought this was a domestic violence situation, didn't you? Because they wouldn't let me get near her. It was interesting. I mean, whatever, you know, that's fine. You guys are coming out here in the middle of the night to help me and my wife. Wonderful. Glad you're here. But I know, I could tell from their body language that they wanted to make sure that's not what they were dealing with. I mean, you know, you call at 2 o'clock on a Sunday morning, Saturday night, lady with unspecified pain and husband trying desperately to look normal, which is very hard for me. Anyway, so they were on edge. I was on edge. But everything went pretty smoothly. So they take her to the ER, right? They're out the door. Now, the first thing that I noticed that I could learn from was that it was really hard to call 911. I was looking through my contacts for 911, and of course, it's not in my contacts. So it like took 10 seconds. I don't know, 10, it took 5 or 6 seconds for me to like click over into like, oh, that's right, dumbass, is you got to use the actual keypad like it's a phone from the 80s or something and dial 911. 911 was very efficient. Anyway, they come, they check her out, they take her to the ER. Cool, right? So I send a text. At this point, I'm home alone with my kid who didn't wake up. And it's about, 2:45 in the morning. And I'm like, okay, my wife just went to the ER, and for all, she seems okay, but for all I know, this could turn into a real situation. I need to go ahead and start lining people up to take care of my kid if I need to go to the hospital in a hurry. So I sent out a text to 3 or 4 of our very closest friends, and I said, hey, our friends who, have experience watching our son, and I said, hey, I might need you. I know it's 3 in the morning. But this might be a real situation. I don't need you yet, but I might really need you. So I sent the text, and I put my phone down. And I got up and started brushing my teeth and getting ready in case I had to go. And then like 30 seconds later, I go and I pick up my phone, and I look and I see this. So my phone was down for like an hour, during which time I discovered that it's really, really hard, even when you've got your contacts synced up in Google, it's really hard to go to your Google on your computer and find people's phone numbers that way. I couldn't do it. Maybe it was the stress of the moment. Hang on, my phone's blowing up here. The point being, I should have had these numbers written down somewhere. And actually, I did, but it was the stress of the moment, and I completely forgot that all these people's numbers are on the freaking wall right next to like on the kitchen cabinet. I don't know why I didn't just walk over there, because I could have at least emailed their number. I couldn't have spoken with them, but I could have emailed their number from my email and said, hey, this is the situation. It was just trying to send a text. So I guess it was a real wake-up call that these things are not really that good in emergencies. Compared to your basic landline. And I've always been one of those people that's like, hey, you're way more likely to have an emergency out in the world. Like, drop your landline, get a cell phone, because a cell phone's so much better in an emergency, because landlines are landlines. But in this case, it would have really been nice to be able to walk over to a phone and pick it up and dial it. Situation that I haven't thought about, that I haven't prepared for. We have bags for each member of the family, right, in case we need to go. Or in case we need to, or in case we are out somewhere and we can't get home. 24-hour kits for every member of the family. Except when it's just a situation of, hey, I might need to drop my kid with you while I go pick my wife up at the ER, or go tend to whatever doctoral medical decisions need to be made, or whatever situation might be confronting me. Here I need to drop this bag off with you. It doesn't have to be like, there should have just been a bag ready with like some easy stuff in it, clothes and whatever for my kid. Like, everything in his like go kit is like, boxes of stuff, and it's this big. Like, if we have to like leave the house in an emergency, that's one thing to like pick up a box and go with it. But if you're just like, hey, I'm dropping my kid with you for a few hours, you don't want to take a big box of like survival looking shit into somebody's house. Not that he's got like MREs and bayonets in there or anything, but he doesn't need food for a week. He just needs a bag with some clothes and some food. And just, here, try not to let him fall off the kitchen counter for 5 hours, and I'll be back. Anyway, didn't have to take him anywhere. Got a neighbor to come sit with him when my wife called. Everything was fine. I didn't even have to go to the hospital, which is great because it's flu and stomach bug season. So we get back, we get home. She's doing much better. She didn't even like slow down that day. She's amazing. She did not. I think she took like an hour nap. Like an hour nap. I was exhausted, of course. She was up all night in the hospital, super frustrated with these people that didn't really want to help. And then she like works all day. She didn't go to work because it was Sunday, but she like works in the house all day, and then like is up late with the kid, putting him to bed. And as she's putting him to bed, he throws up spectacularly all over the place. And boom, once again, we have the stomach virus. Preppers, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you don't have Gatorade or some electrolyte drink to get you through a stomach virus, you're not prepped. You're not prepped. Because, man, let me tell you, when I got it the last time, I couldn't walk from the couch to the bathroom. Like it was bad. It was really, really like literally thought I was dying bad. And since then, we've got a cabinet dedicated to what happens if we get the horrible stomach virus again. And knock wood, his mom and I are still okay. He has had a rough couple of days of it. So next day was Monday, right? You get the idea. Hard to keep food in him, that sort of thing. So at one point, I go in the bathroom, and we got one bathroom in our house, which has come into play several times now. I go in the bathroom, turn on the bathroom light, bulb blows. Okay? Get a new bulb. If I get sick, I don't want to have to be puking in the dark, right? So I am pulling out the old bulb. Boom! 4th of July. 4th of July. House goes dark. The whole house goes dark. Wonderful. Wonderful. And so I had to wait for my wife to come home, run to Home Depot, which is the only big box store at which I still shop. Run to Home Depot, get a new fixture, come home, install it, turn everything back on. All the time thinking I'm going to start puking in the light fixture aisle at Home Depot so that everyone can see me throwing up in like this gorgeous, bright, soft light. Long story short, everybody's doing just fine, but these are situations where your AR-15 and your big-ass knife and all your cool woods gear, it's no help at all. It's no help at all. And the thing is, the situation where you might need your AR-15 is incredibly unlikely. Not saying you shouldn't prepare for it, not saying that, but the situation in which you're going to have to take your kid to the ER, you're going to have to take your wife to the ER, you're going to have to go to the ER, whatever, you know that's coming. It's 100% certain that you're going to be faced with these kinds of things in life. That's just how life is. And so I've got a piece coming out soon. I can't tell you exactly what. We're keeping it super secret for now. That's going to talk a little bit more about my history with this sort of thing and with my son and trying to raise my kid and where I've come to find myself as someone who used to have, you know, the military Alice pack full of supplies, and now someone who I'm more concerned about having Gatorade. And know where your car keys are. It took me forever to find my car keys. That's not a good situation to be in. So now before bed every night, lock the doors, check the fire alarm, and put my car keys where I know I can find them. Plug my phone in so I know it's charging. Most of the things that will be most beneficial to you are free to do and super easy and cheap. Like always plug your phone in at night so you know it's charging. Keep your car half full of gas in case you have to go to the ER. These are the sorts of things that in Gribley's Folly, where Murphy's Law is the only law, these are the sorts of things that come in really handy. Thank you for watching. I know some of you are going to be concerned about my health and my family's health, and I really appreciate that. I assure you we're just fine. Thanks for watching. Keep the ends out for the ties that bind.